Hello and welcome. My name is Kelly Quinn and I'm an instructor with Paint for the Wild. Today I'll be showing you how to draw your very own tiger shark from scratch using just a few simple shapes and a couple techniques and tips to create those awesome patterns that you see right here. And then at the end of this class, we'll also be doing another follow-up class that's going to be graphite shading and going into doing more details that create form and light in your tiger shark. The only thing that you need is a piece of paper like this guy right here and a normal little pencil just like this with an eraser, and you're all set to go. So let's go ahead and hop into our drawing. The first thing you're going to do when approaching your tiger shark is create your guidelines. So you're going to do one horizontal line, just like this, all the way across your entire page, entire paper, and then you're going to do a nice vertical line straight in the center, or just about. It's like that. Nothing perfect, precise, guys. See how sketchy I am being? This is really loose, so don't overthink it when you're drawing or sketching. It's meant to be loose and expressive. So the first thing we're going to do to create our tiger shark is a big oval, but our oval is going to be concentrated on the tip over here. So let's start over there and come about halfway to this side, on this side of your guidelines. Like this, kind of tapers out on this end. This is going to be where our tail is. And then let's meet back over here with our original point. Just like that. Lovely. All right, so we have our basic body in, just super simple like this. But now we're going to focus in doing the face first. We're going to get our face in, and then from having our face in, we're going to learn how we can set in our pectoral fin, dorsal fin, the pelvic fin, and so on, going down the body and keeping it all in perspective. And this is a trick that applies to almost every shark, just so you know. So first thing you're going to do is create a nice candy corn at the end of your shark over here. It's not the whole half of the body, it's more so on this third part of the body, just keep in mind. And if you need to rearrange or play a little bit, that is all good, guys. It's because that's why we're working in pencil with an eraser. Just be working a little bit light with your lines because it'll be a lot easier to shift and change some things if you need to later on. So once you have that cone in, you're going to do a kind of this like basic guide for a curve and eyebrow for your tiger shark. But the first thing you want to actually do before that is you're going to make the point of the nose, like where the nose is actually going to be, is a little bit above the main horizontal line. So just go a little bit above it, just a tiny, tiny bit. And then you're going to curve up like that. And then start following down the body a little bit. And you can go outside your candy corn. Now this is just the first guide, doesn't have to be perfect or anything, but you'll see how you need to shift it and move it if you need to as we keep going on. So next you're going to do the upper jaw, upper portion of the mouth, which is just following our current oval. And then once you get in about like an inch down, going to curve in just a little bit and then straighten back out. So they have a very soft mouth. So it's not a very distinct mouth like a mako or a great white. And then immediately after that, you're going to make those big ol' adorable jaws. And they've got these big old puffy jaws and cheeks, which you just love. And so it's a very curved jaw, not very sharp. Excellent, guys. So now we're going to put in the eye, and the eye is going to go just above where the jaw, lower jaw is. So that's going to just be a nice circle right there below your guideline right here. So it's between the mouth and that. A little bit higher though, a little bit closer to the brow. And then before we can move on to the gills, we need to put in that little bit of noseness right there. And that's just a sideways V. Excellent, guys, you're doing awesome. So you see how we already have our lovely tiger shark face shaping up here. So we're going to go ahead and put in the gill area. And you can use a guide if you like. It's just a very, very rough guide, just so you know. It can be a rectangle, partially in the candy corn, mostly outside the candy corn. You're going to start your first gill inside your tiger shark's candy corn head. And the gill ends right where the mouth is. So it's vertically, it starts up here where that curve is that we added in, and it ends where the mouth ends. Gonna put one more right behind it, just like that, about equal length between the second and the third, just like that. And then they get a little bit closer to each other as it comes to the final gills. The last two gills are a little bit squeezed, a little bit more. And now you already have a great guideline for putting in your pectoral fin. But first thing we want to do is go ahead and clean up any of those kind of extraneous lines just all around. Any of those extra lines you don't need, just kind of clean it up, and it'll also give you a little bit better perspective on how your tiger shark's coming along. Just like that. Excellent, guys. So first thing you need to remember, and this pretty much applies to just about every shark species, you're going to have your pectoral fin start just below the last gill slit. So I like to start out by doing a almost horizontal line, kind of like a little swoosh right there. And then you're gonna curve, come down, and you're gonna meet it right here. It's like that. And I even made mine just a little too thin even, so just keep that in mind. So just watch this part for just a minute before you keep drawing and redrawing or anything like that. They have a not massive pectoral fin, but it's pretty wide. They have a very wide pectoral fin. So this is about that's about a good spot right there. So you see how this started right below the last gill, and then the meeting point for the front of the pectoral fin kind of ends about the second to the last gill. So that's a pretty good spot you want to be in. And then while you're right here, you can go ahead and add a little bit of detail. Or these little striations, little strikes. You just go up the fin just a little bit. Fantastic. So now you're going to add in the dorsal fin, which is gorgeous. I love the dorsal fin. Once we get into the patterns of this guy, it's so fun. So you're going to be making your dorsal fin by referencing the last point of your pectoral fin right here. So it's just a slight diagonal up, very slight diagonal up. And then right there is where you're going to start your dorsal fin. Right there. And you might notice that your dorsal fin almost lines up with your center vertical line a little bit. And so that's a great way to measure if you're if you're in the right space. If you're closer to the vertical line, you should be about in the right area. If you're a little further up here, you might be a little too high up on the body. So just keep that in mind. Also, the dorsal fin on the tiger shark is actually just a little bit more curved. I'm drawing this from the side, so it's a little bit more difficult to see it just normally. So just like that, it's actually a little bit more of a swoop up here. And they have this kind of little almost like the tip of a hat pointed over, if it was like a wizard hat. And then comes in a nice curve down, and then you can end on one of these little V's right here. Excellent. And following our guide, right here, we're just gonna keep doing that over and over again. It's a repeating process. So wherever the last fin up on the body ends is where the next fin down the body begins. So right about here, let's put a diagonal down, and that's going to be where our pelvic fin begins. So again, we start out with a horizontal kind of curved line right here, a little choop, and then we curve. Here, let me make sure my hand's not in the way. We curve in like that, and do another shunk, just like that. And we try to keep so you see the angle, the diagonal of this fin. We're just going to try to repeat that same kind of angle for this one as well. I'm gonna hop in there and just erase a couple of those lines just to make sure not being too confusing there. Just like so. And what I'm doing, these little lines right here are actually just where the body is kind of melding into that pelvic fin. So these are not below the body yet, guys. So we were about to do those next. So just know that these need to all be up in the body, not on the bottom of the body. And so before we do the next fins, let's go ahead and finish out our tiger shark's body just a little bit more, just like that. And now from, again, the end of this fin, our pelvic fin, go up diagonal. And then nice sharp curve right here. Actually, it's just a little too sharp. Hold on. There we go. And then just use that top one you make as a guide, put a vertical line straight down, and then just reflect or repeat that exact same shape just below. Make sure you have these nice little elongated portions of this fin as well. Boom. Now, what's actually the inspiration for this tiger shark is shark tagging with the University of Miami. And they do a lot of shark research off the coast of Florida, especially around tiger sharks and in particular, pregnant tiger sharks. So they've actually been the first person to actually do an ultrasound on a tiger shark and actually see live pups inside, which is just amazing. So while we are cleaning up all of these lines here, you can also start thinking about any kind of new inspirations you want to have for the next piece, because we would love to hear it. We want to be doing new lessons like this every week, so please comment below with any suggestions and especially any questions you might have. We're always here for you, so please, please, please reach out to us if you have any. And also know we would love to see your artwork, so please share that with us using the hashtag #OfTheWild and share it at @PaintForTheWild for a chance to be featured on our social media channels. Awesome, guys. So we're cleaning, just like so. All right, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and get into doing that awesome, massive tail. So the first thing we're gonna do is add in that lateral line starting from the center point of our tail, coming in and about over the pelvic fin right here. You're gonna start to slowly curve. Actually, you start back here. Start slowly curve up and over to the head. Just like so. Now that we're out about like an inch or so from this last fin, we're gonna do a diagonal line, just like that. So this diagonal line does not go higher than the dorsal fin, just keep in mind. It is the guide for our beautiful tail. So the tail, and we're actually gonna start inwards a little bit more than that, starts with like a little curve, a little bloop, a little hump right there. And then it curves to the point up here. It's a pretty straight line actually, but like it comes up to that point, and use this point to make a pretty sharp horizontal line, come down a diagonal, and then again curve in, make like that little hook, and then come all the way down to that center line that we created. And then as soon as you get to the center line, you curve under right here, kind of make a little hook at the end, and then start exactly where you started, the upper portion of the caudal fin, which is what the tail is called, and reach all the way back, just like so. Excellent. You now have your entire tiger shark all drawn in for the form. So now we're just gonna kind of clean up some lines really fast, any extra ones that you still wanted to touch up. Go ahead and erase those guides. You won't need those anymore. And for in the tail, you actually can leave the center line right there, as well as the lateral line, which is visible on a shark. So just keep this main line right here in there, and then you're all good. Okay, so we are almost done with our shark, but of course we're missing that tall tail sign of a tiger, which is his stripes. So we're gonna go ahead and jump in and do the stripes. And I like to start these patterns with, it's kind of like the edge of a razor blade. If you looked up really closely on the edge of a tooth, even the edge of a shark's tooth, has these little serrated little edges coming off of a straight line. So that's what we're gonna do. we're gonna do a straight line, well, not straight, but like a curved line following the body that ends about above the gills, and it also starts about by the secondary dorsal fin, which is right here. And then you come in and you do this little like hook, little motion, little serrated, you could say, edges off that bar. Just like so. And then as soon as you do that, go ahead and fill in that pattern with your pencil. So this is going to be the only part of this pattern that is actually truly drawn in, because the rest of it's going to be free form kind of scribble scratches, because the patterns on a tiger shark are actually not perfect stripes or perfect patterns. They're kind of blurred and fuzzy at the edges sometimes. So just keep that in mind, that we're not going for this perfect, hard, harsh look. We're actually going for a more organic feel. And again, patterns are pretty dark, so just keep that in mind. But it's always good to start lighter and then go back in and add more darker patterns later on. So first thing we're going to add in is the big pattern, which is going to be in kind of the cup area. So the little like whoop right here, you're going to put one of these scribble scratched in patterns in each one of those. So keep them about that size right here. See how they fill up a lot of that room, but there's still some free breathing space in between them all. It's because we're going to go in and add more patterns in between them. So just keep that in mind as you're doing this. Just like that, getting those patterns in. And so you can also kind of think of them as like squiggly hurricanes. Like, I don't know if you ever did that when you were a kid and in school, you'd make little squiggly hurricanes on your paper. I did. So you're go in between from where the points are. You're going to make these more thin, elongated patterns, just like this. So, but make sure that these patterns aren't touching. They're not meant to touch. Just like that. And then once you get that layer in, go back in and even add in a further lighter, it's an important lighter layer, to our earlier skinnier patterns. Because the tiger shark's patterns actually fade out as they go further down the body. And what's really actually cool is that these patterns are more distinct, obviously, in a younger tiger shark, because it helps them blend in with their environment, which would be something along the lines of mangroves, grass beds, and even coral reefs as they get a bit older. So you see here, I'm just going in and adding in more little squiggles. And just in these empty spaces. You can even go over the lateral line a little bit. As you get closer to the tail, your patterns start to break down a bit, so they're not so uniform. And something that you just keep in mind is that the pattern doesn't actually go on the underside over here. It just remains on the upper portion of the lateral line. And then in here, I'd still say you come in and add just a few more big portions, and they can even kind of come up and meet another pattern as they get further down. Again, they become a little less uniform, they break apart. And then something else that's kind of cool is that as the tiger shark gets older, their patterns will actually disappear. Not completely, but they become very, very faint. So that's one way you can actually tell an older tiger shark sometimes, is by how faded their patterns are. And right here, you can obviously tell that pattern becomes a lot smaller and a lot more condensed and softer, because they almost it disappears completely as it gets to the face. And they don't typically have a very distinct pattern going over the gills, but of course, this is your drawing and your painting, so please feel free to add any kind of extra flair and pizzazz that you would like. Excellent. So we got the basic portion of the pattern in for our tiger shark body, but now let's go ahead and do that awesome dorsal fin, and then we're gonna hit the caudal fin, and then we're gonna add in the beautiful little eye, and we're gonna be all done with our tiger shark. So putting in the patterns on our dorsal fin is pretty simple. We're doing the exact same technique, But just keep in mind, there's only 3 big horizontal stripes that are really in a tiger shark's pectoral fin. And sometimes maybe one of them breaks down a little bit and it becomes like one little extra spot right there, so that's totally up to you. But typically there's 2 to 3 of these nice big bars that go across the dorsal fin, starting from the back, not the front. And then come down to the tail. The tail is actually just a bunch of ovals. So we're gonna do scribble scratched ovals, just like this, all the way up our tiger shark tail. And then as it gets closer to the bottom of the tail where it's meeting the rest of the body, there's maybe a couple little specks. Just like that. There's sometimes even some that go a little bit higher, like that. Excellent, guys, you're doing amazing. So we're gonna go ahead and just redefine the body a little bit more so we can see all of our patterns and where our highlights are going to be. Just like that. And I kind of went out with my line right there a little bit, but that's okay. Awesome. And I just make sure that your gills are really defined so you can see them. Excellent. Now focusing in on our tiger shark's eye, it's just going to be a couple little steps and you're all done. So the first thing you want to do is add in a nice little circle that's going to stay white. It's just you're defining where that white spot is by doing this circle. And then immediately you're going to do another circle that's going to be the actual pupil. It's going to be filled in that butts up to that little white portion. So that white portion is going to be really what gives your tiger shark all of this life. So just keep that in mind when you're doing it and make sure to do that white. Because you see, now he's like looking at you. So this is like the one trick that it just totally changes and it can totally make or break a drawing or a painting. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing this particular portion of the drawing. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I'm so excited I got to draw this tiger shark with you. If you have any questions about this entire process, please comment below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. If you would like to share your artwork with us, we would love to see it. So please use the hashtag #OfTheWild and share it at PaintForTheWild on social media and we'll share it on our story. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for new lessons every week. Until then, stay safe, stay positive, and keep creating. See you guys later.